put together and how it functions. And so let's take a look at the Keystone Ink. It says, describe how the structure, that's the shape of the plasma membrane, allows it to function, that's its job, as a regulatory structure and or protective barrier for a cell. Okay, so how's it put together so that it is able to regulate and protect? And that's really the two functions. It regulates what gets in and out of the cell, and it protects the cell, protects the inside from the outside. You can kind of think of it as like our skin, right? Our skin prevents things from coming in and out of us, right? And it protects us, the insides of us, right? And so remember the analogy that we made when we talk about the structure of the cell membrane is that we said it's like a fence with gates. It's a fence with gates. It's got part of it that blocks things. That's the fence part, right? But it's got other parts that are openings that allow things to come in and out of the cell. And so there's two parts. Maybe we should number them. Let's number them. One, the fence, and two, the gates. And so down here below, the fence part is made up of phospholipids. Remember we said phospholipids, they look kind of like this. They've got a head and two tails, right? They've got a head and two tails. Remember we said that it's a phospholipid bilayer. Bi means what? Two. Maybe you want to jot down bi means two. So there's two layers of phospholipids that create a fence. The second part are the proteins. We said the proteins, they act like gates in the fence, right? So proteins are like gates. They're going to allow specific molecules in and out of the cell. And remember, the key word here is specific. They don't just let every molecule in and out of the cell. They only allow specific molecules in. And so that makes the cell selectively permeable. Remember we made up a word? We said that the cell membrane is choosy. That's not a word, okay? But we're saying it's choosy, it's picky about what gets into and out of the cell. Okay, so cell membrane, what's its structure? Its structure is it's got phospholipids and it's got proteins. Phospholipids are the fence part. Proteins are the gates. Okay, we know that it comes together in a bilayer, which is two layers of phospholipids, and that it's selectively permeable, choosy about what gets in and out. Okay, let's go down to our diagram here, and let's use the two words hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Remember, hydrophilic likes water, hydrophobic doesn't. It's afraid of water. So let's take, I'm going to change my color here. Let's take those and let's label. The hydrophilic part would be this part and this part, right? The circle parts are hydrophilic because what's outside of the cell? Well, outside the cell is lots of water. And what's inside the cell? Well, even more water, right? So those parts like to face the water. There's also the hydrophobic parts. So let's label here in the middle, kind of like a cookie, right? Kind of like an Oreo cookie, where the black cookie part is hydrophilic, and the creamy part in the middle is hydrophobic. It's hiding from the water. And so there's no water here in the middle. Maybe we should label that. Let's say no water. And so that's what actually holds the cell membrane together. Right? We've got phospholipids. You can see there's a bilayer, right? There's two layers of phospholipids. Maybe we should label one. Let's label that one. We'll call it a phospholipid. Right? That's a phospholipid. And then over here we've got a protein. Remember, the protein is like a little tunnel through which little molecules can go through into or out of the cell. Our phospholipid is like a fence. It keeps stuff in. Oops, that doesn't look like fence. It keeps stuff in, and it keeps stuff out. Doesn't look like fence either. finger doesn't want to do fence here. Let's see. Okay. It keeps stuff in. Right? The protein is like a gate. It's what's going to let things through the cell membrane. So on Sam, oh, that one. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? I'll zoom out here so we can see our whole picture. We wrote lots of stuff on this. Didn't we move the page up? Yeah. To here? Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Okay, great. All right, well, let's stop there for a moment, okay, and take a moment to practice this concept